Okay, so we are going to get started with changing the brakes on the car today. It is cold outside. Temperatures were like, I don't know, 80 degrees yesterday, and it's dropped down to 50. But I have got the brake parts together. We're going to go bigger calipers, bigger rotors, and hopefully give the car a little bit more stopping force. Plus, with more mass, hopefully they will stay a little bit cooler with the amount of power that we're putting out. We're gonna jack the car up and do the front brakes here. These are gonna be 280s as opposed to the original 262 millimeters from the mini Coopers. I went honestly pretty cheap with this route just to see what I could get with it. We did the CarQuest 280 millimeter vented rotors, remanufactured Type R calipers, and then I went with a little beefier brake pad, the Power Stop Extreme Z26 is what I'm currently running. I was told that I would need these, so these are spacers for the rotors to be able to fit in there nicely. So we'll see how it goes, see if I run into any complications. Gotta have grid life going on while I'm doing this so I can keep an eye on the GLTC and GLGT and the Sunday Cups. So yeah, let's get into it.
Let's talk about why you'd want to do a bigger rotor and caliper. We know that most vehicles are easily able to engage ABS, and doing a bigger brake-in caliper isn't going to shorten the stopping distance, so why spend the money? Well, it comes down to thermal efficiency and brake pedal feel. So let's take brake pedal feel first. In a good front-wheel drive track car, the driver wants to really transition weight to the front tires through the corner. So they're going to brake hard going into the corner to shed weight, but they want to keep that weight on the front tires to help pull traction to pull the car through the corner. Being able to use the brake pedal at different percentages is a huge advantage. A small brake package can feel like an on-off switch. So by extending the torque that the caliper can exert on the rotor by moving it further from the center of the wheel, it's going to give you that pedal feel back. And we'll get into some more details about pad surface area and how that affects it too. The other big one was thermal efficiency. So a small brake package, represented here in red, spikes in temperature and then sheds the heat very quickly because there's very little thermal mass, and brakes are designed to shed the heat quickly. The problem is when you get to a corner that requires heavy braking for a prolonged time, with a small brake package, you're spiking the temperature above the boiling point of the fluid, and that's extremely bad. At that point, you have to pit, you have to change your fluid. You're going to end up with a spongy brake pedal. So the additional thermal mass, the additional weight of the rotor, the bigger surface area of the brake pads, the width of the brake pad that keeps the fluid further from the hot rotor, all of those things reduce the sudden spikes in temperature that the front brakes will see. So this blue line represents more closely what a larger rotor and caliper combination would do. Even though you're still inputting the same amount of energy to stop the car into the rotor package, because there's physically more mass, you don't see that sudden temperature spike that you'll see with the smaller brake package. And that's why we spend the money.
went through it. These pads look better than the other side though. The other side doesn't look great. So, maybe taking the brakes off first. It's definitely loosened up. Try this one. Yep. Yeah, so that's the trick. Take your calipers off first. Here is the new rotor on there, and it looks like those spacers are going to come in clutch. So I believe I'm going to have to bend this back a little bit in order to fit on here properly. So I'm going to leave the dust cover on. And I think where the caliper or the rotors are bigger, I'm gonna have to pull this lip up a little bit so it'll sit back, because if not, this lip will prevent the caliper or the rotor from sitting all the way on to the hub. Doesn't look too bad. Okay, so I didn't have to cut it. I thought that I would, but no, it just bends back. I had to bend it with some of the pliers. I didn't even have to fold the lip up any. I don't know, let's see if you can see it. But yeah, so just bent, push it back a little bit, and now it'll go without anything. And I'm so glad that we got these little spacers for the rotor as well. So next I'm going to take the banjo bolt off to the brake line and get this loose and get rid of this bad boy right here. There, all right. That's a new crush washer. Always use a new crush washer. Put the new crush, put that in there. New crush on this guy. I'm just really failing at this right now. There. This and this. And screw her on. Oh! Alright, so that took a little bit more than I thought. So honestly, I guess just throw gloves on. We'll set up the brake fluid. We can throw some gloves on and then swap her out. That wasn't the cleanest, sorry. Alright, so that's on there good. The new banjo bolt is 11 mil, so it took me a second to find the right one to tighten her down, but I believe she's on there good. And I gotta figure out the way to throw her back on here, but I need to get the rotor on first, so we shall see. And then I believe for now I'm gonna have to disconnect this in order to make the caliper reach, and then I'll have to figure out something as far as getting the brake line connected back to the coil over. Well, so I've had issues with that bolt that goes onto the coilover, so I got PB Blaster and it has been blasted. So now I'm gonna wait patiently with the Red Bull and Grid Life GLTC, baby.
A number of his competitors that he ran against last year are now in Grid Life GT. Someone's got to take the fight to Eric Patil. Out to finish first.
All right, okay, so vice grips, holding on to that to hold it, stabilize it. It is getting a little bit, oh my goodness, I don't know if you can even see this. I can get just barely any movement on it, but that thing is on there. I'm gonna have to put some anti-seize on it, I believe. Tight. It's coming though. Just hope I don't snap it. Yeah, definitely getting anti-seize on this when it goes back on, if I get it back on. Sheesh. Probably should be wearing gloves while doing this, but whatever. Honestly. Ah, my box. All right. All right, so everything is on. I still need to bleed, but so basically what we did, took all the old hardware off, added the spacers for the rotor's on, nice and snug. It'll be snug when the wheel's on there for sure. And then the caliper, how to disconnect these hoses, gonna figure out something for them, probably zip tie for the time being until I can get something more secured on. I checked all these bolts to make sure these were tight, 14s, 17s. This guy's like a 10 in the back, I believe, or 12, can't remember. But now I need to bleed the rear passenger, rear driver, passenger, front driver, and then be able to get the wheels back on. I think we'll be good to go. So pretty good process. The biggest struggle I had was these bolts that go from the brake line to the coilover. So these guys were a pain, but PU blast, vice grip on to stabilize the arm itself, and then eventually just kind of broke. The passenger side, I did take the impact too. Not a great idea, but it still worked. I don't recommend doing it just because you have a higher chance of breaking something, but it still broke it loose, and we're good. And yeah, I'm excited, man.
in race 2, and then race 3 and 4 go ahead. Mercedes posting
Let's talk about the pros and cons of what we did. So we changed to an Integra Type R caliper, the 97 and up, and we used a 280 millimeter diameter rotor. That's an 18 millimeter increase, and that also gave us a 4 millimeter increase in width. So with these changes come a couple of advantages, some pros and cons. The first pro, I actually forgot to put it up there, is it gives us access to some better brake pads. So the Integra Type R had a lot of support, so we can now get to some friction compounds that we weren't normally given with the stock Honda Fit package. So in addition to that, we have a couple of other advantages. The thermal mass that we covered earlier. The greater thermal mass means that even though the energy input is the same, it's distributed over a greater area. So you don't get those spikes in temperature that are going to damage the brake fluid. The next pro is your caliper torque. So we're talking about how far the caliper is from the center of the wheel. The further out, the greater leverage the caliper has over the rotor. So that's going to give you a better pedal feel. The next advantage is the the pad surface area. So by increasing the surface area of the pad, we're diminishing the hot spot on the pad, and it's going to give us much better pad life, and it's not going to cook the pad compound. So again, it's going to let you run a slightly different compound, something that's better on track, and it doesn't have to compensate now for such a high heat in one isolated area. We also have a greater pad width. So that means that we have just a little bit more space between the hot rotor and our very precious brake fluid that we don't want to boil. We also get a caliper stiffness increase from the larger caliper. So more metal, beefier, it's just not going to flex as much. And because it's greater in mass, it also resists thermal change better. So the bigger caliper is not going to flex as much as it gets hotter, and that's all going to transfer to the driver in terms of better pedal feel. The other advantage is the better cooling of the rotors. So rotors cool themselves with a pump of air. So as they spin, the centripetal force of the air moving outward through the vanes pulls fresh air in around the wheel bearing. And so the longer those vanes, the better cooling effect the rotor will have. Now, because of the greater thermal mass, you won't get the temperature spike, and you also don't get the temperature drop of the smaller setup. But because of the better rotor cooling, you'll get a larger change in energy, heat energy that the rotor is maintaining. So that's a huge advantage that sometimes is overlooked. The cons of all this is more weight. So this is unsprung weight. This is weight that your front suspension is not managing. It's a cost of speed. It's something that's really unavoidable. We could look at a two-piece rotor to try minimize the weight gains here as much as possible, but the Honda Fit was light to begin with, so this isn't really territory we're overly worried about, especially since the tire, wheel, and brake package still are quite light in comparison to the weight of the whole car. So there's a ratio there that's another video to go into that, but for now, just know that you are increasing unsprung weight. The other con is the greater thermal mass. So it's good because it diminishes the peaks and lows, and it really spreads out the heat transfer, but it also means that over a 20-minute session at a racetrack, you could see the temperature stepping up, the average increasing lap after lap. So we may have to increase the cooling to manage the greater thermal mass, something like a brake duct or a scoop pushing more fresh air towards the center of the rotor to really increase the efficiency of the cooling of the rotor. Things like that may need to be added, and we'll do some testing at the track, and we'll report back if we have to do anything like that. But that's it, the pros and cons.
Taking the car out for a drive, and So far the brakes feel really good, but when it brakes, it does brake harder. It feels better, which brings to question, when I go fix these drums, do I do rear disc conversion, or do I just replace the drums? I don't know. What do you think? Because a lot of the community says, oh, don't do drums, or don't do discs, because it's not much better than drums. The drums are actually really good for this car, which, given they are really good for the car, this car stopped like a champ during my track weekend. They're really good, but for me, I want easier brakes to work on. I'm more familiar with discs and calipers rather than drums, shoes, boots, whatever. It was an absolute pain in the butt to get the brakes fixed when the nipple snapped. Maybe I could just buy new drums and figure it out, or maybe I could just get rear disc conversion. CK Engineering makes a plate that makes it easy to put calipers on the back. Okay, I'm going disc regardless, because I have all the stuff sitting in my house for the swap. I would like to have an extra hand while doing it, because I feel like it's a little bit more involved of a process, taking the drums off, swapping to the disc, and then running the parking brake line as well. My plan is, and I hope for it to work out, is to meet up with Tristan. Either him come here or I go there and us do the conversion together. I would really like to have his brains with me in person, in an extra set of hands that I know they're gonna be helpful to me. They're not gonna break my rear drum nipple. Like, that never has ever happened before. They will be helpful to me. We will knock it out together. I really want to make it a team project for Pass Garage. So let's talk about the front big brake kit installation and go over the things that I got to prepare for before I did it. So I did 97 Integra Type R calipers off of Rockauto. A lot of the stuff that I got was off Rockauto. So 97 Integra Type R calipers for the front. They were remanufactured. I'm not buying super expensive calipers for the front of the car, unless this car becomes like a dedicated track car. 2009 Mini Cooper vented rotors, 280 millimeter rotors for the front. Left, right, calipers remanufactured. Then the brake pads, they were the Power Stop Z26 brake pads. And I also bought spacers, 4 spacers, or no, a total of 8 spacers off eBay for the Mini Cooper rotors. I recommend it. I think it was a good upgrade. It didn't break the bank for me. And I also, you know, for me, again, family guy, I have kids, I have a wife. I'm the only person that brings a paycheck home for our family. So, you know, we're diving in wealth. So for this project itself, I saved up over time. It took me a couple months to just buy a piece here or a piece there, and to collect it all together for this project. So it's not something that I just, you know, just cash out for it right away. And then on top of that, I only have a couple projects for this car for this year. One, I want to go to the track. Carolina Motorsports Park is on my list of things to do. Secondly, I want to buy tires for the track. That's really going to just be my upgrades for the year, besides the brakes, tires, and track day. And that's it. And honestly, that's just my plans for this. So I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you all learned something. If you're looking to do this, I recommend it. And hopefully when you go to do it, you can use this as kind of a guide or something to help you out, to pull tips, tricks, and learn how to do it yourself. Yeah, so thank you again for watching. Thank you for supporting, and please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.